Top 8 in Marvel Snap with these two decks using two of Marvel Snap's newest cards, Fastball Special and Marrow. These are in two completely different decks, and if you want to see these two decks and learn how to play them, this is the place for you. I'm Smlz, I'm a high infinite Marvel Snap player that's one of the best in the world, and let's get right into it. First up, Fastball Special Nimrod. This deck is so strong. I can't believe how much stronger Fastball Special and Adamantium Infusion have made this list. So we don't need to even do the Phoenix Force multiple man lines in this deck anymore. It's literally just Nimrod and Black Panther. That's all we need. Adamantium Infusion can be Phoenix Force though if you don't have it, but it's a lot weaker, and Aranya can be Ghost Spider as well. I prefer Aranya because of a couple other reasons though, namely Arnim Zola. Our two main game plans are Nimrod and Black Panther. The Nimrod plan is very simple. You just Shuri into Nimrod, make as many copies as you can. The BP one is a little bit more complex. You're either trying to get a 20 power Panther with Shuri Panther into an empty lane to Zola, which is pretty simple, or you can destroy it and revive it with Adamantium Infusion, as in destroy it with your Omega, and then revive it with Adamantium Infusion. Maybe hit it with a Fastball Special after that to inflict your opponent's enemy lane with -40 if you want to. All that good stuff right there. Another main important thing you can do is with the Zola line, you can use Aranya to get the Panther out of the Shuri lane and into an empty lane so that you can Zola it. It is a really good play, and it will save you a lot of 50-50s. It's going to win you 50% of your games that you otherwise wouldn't have if you do that, because then there's 50% of games. Zola would hit the Shuri, and that's not very good. Now let's talk about Nimrod for a second. You might notice in both these lines, the early game is very similar. On turns 1 to 3, we want to be playing Aranya, Kid Omega, Magic, or Nico Destroy Draw 2 spell. Those are all the 4 most important things to be doing. You want to have at least one of those done, preferably 2, and you don't want to Magic if you don't need to. What do I mean by that? If you have your entire game plan all set out in your hand, don't Magic, don't prolong the game, don't give your opponent a chance. On turn 4, if you have Shuri, consider snapping if you've got your Nimrod in hand. Shuri's the most powerful enabler draw in this deck because it serves both of our game plans very well, and it is by far our best turn 4 and play in both of those situations. If you have that and you have a 12 power Nimrod, that's extremely hard to interact with. That's going everywhere. You can consider snapping. And on turn 6 and 7, depending on if you have a Magic, you're just going to be destroying your Nimrod with Fastball Special, Carnage, Venom, Arnim Zola. All of those are really good options to destroy your Nimrod. One very cool thing is Adamantium Infusion. If you had a Kid Omega destroy a Nimrod on 5, you can play Adamantium Infusion, get back a bigger Nimrod. Could either be the 24, maybe if you just had an Aranya on it, maybe it was 7. Now you're getting a 14 power, and then destroy them both with Carnage, or destroy the big one with Fastball Special. That is also a very strong line that you need to keep in mind, as it will win you a lot of cubes, as people are not expecting it. In general, though, the Nimrod line really revolves around getting that Shuri into Nimrod. The rest of it is pretty self-explanatory in my opinion, and you can also use Aranya to make sure that Zola is 100% instead of 50-50. Now let's talk about Black Panther, because this is a little bit trickier. Aranya, Kid Omega, Magic, Nico Minoru with the turn 4 Shuri. Got what I'm saying here? It's the same exact early game, except this one you kind of want to go for the Magic because that is your high roll. So on turn 6 to 7, you really want to destroy this with Fastball Special, Adamantium Infusion. That's just really strong if you didn't do that on 5 with Kid Omega. One important thing to note with this line specifically, and in the Nimrod line as well, you want to play your Adamantium Infusion before your Fastball Special if you're planning on Fastball Special and Kid Omega, because he will always be one more than the highest power thing in your graveyard, and obviously you want to resurrect the highest power thing in your graveyard, unless you're doing the Nimrod line and you want to bring back the Kid Omega because it's more points because you're not planning on destroying the Nimrod again. That's fine, but in the Black Panther deck, you always want to Adamantium before Fastball if you're planning on Fastballing your Kid Omega. Adamantium in this deck acts as a ×4 on Black Panther because it's going to double Black Panther, and then Black Panther is going to double again. You can do a destroy Black Panther on turn 5 with either like a Fastball, or you could do on turn 6 a Fastball Adamantium and revive Panther in an empty lane. You could trigger Kid Omega on 5 and then do Adamantium Infusion. Just get Black Panther in an empty lane with Adamantium Infusion on turn 6 into Zola that on turn 7, and you've got 80 in 2 lanes, and you're just winning. Now let's talk about Marrow and Morgan Le Fay. So, Marrow Le Fay is a bit of an interesting deck. I don't think it's as powerful as Fastball Special Nimrod, but it's certainly not bad at all. I think this is the best Morgan Le Fay has been for me in quite some time because of this new interaction piece. So, when we're looking at this deck, it seems a bit odd compared to the normal Morgan list you might remember. First of all, Morgan's at 3 costs, so we don't need to run Airwalker anymore, but also we're running 2 very new cards in Wade Wilson and Marrow. These are Wade Wilson and Marrow serve 2 different purposes. First interaction pieces like Marrow and Uncle Ben, which I'll get to later. And then the next part, deck thinning. Getting to Morgan is so important in this list. So what you need to do is you need to use your Nico Draw 2. You're really fishing for that. The other ones don't really matter. Maybe location change in some fringe instances, but you really want that Destroy Draw 2. And you really want Wade Wilson to pull from deck. Because of the nature of how this deck curves out, in a sense, you're oftentimes going to be able to play all your 1-drops from hand to ensure Wade Wilson hits from deck. This is very important. You need him to hit from deck because then he's +1 draw, and that gets you 1 draw closer to Morgan if you don't have it. These are the 2 most important draws in the deck, other than Morgan, because they help you get to Morgan. Now let's talk about interactive pieces, Marrow and Uncle Ben. Marrow allows you to debuff enemy cards like Maverick, which is a very popular card right now, and it is also a good body to get back. If you bring it back with Morgan, that's a 2/6, and it can get into quote-unquote full lanes. If you're down by 1 in a lane that both you and your opponent have filled, you can play a Marrow and you can destroy it and hopefully afflict your enemy in that lane by -2 at least, and then flip that lane. Uncle Ben, it allows the disruption for something like Spider-Man. So, for example, I played a game against a Black Panther Zola deck, and they played Symbiote Spider-Man into Black Panther, and I snapped playing this deck because I had priority, and I went Uncle Ben into Venom mid, and their Zola hit nothing, and I won 4 cubes off of it, and it was a very fun win. Just that kind of stuff. Disrupt your opponent's combo, clog their lanes, all that kind of stuff is very powerful with an Uncle Ben, and it is an extremely strong thing to do in this deck. Now, let's talk about the strategy. There's 2 strategies in this deck. One when you have drawn Morgan, one when you haven't. When you have drawn Morgan, you're trying to destroy your cards in an attempt to bring them back with Morgan on 5. Destroying cards like Marrow, Wade Wilson, and Hydra Bob give you the most value because Wade Wilson effectively is giving you +2 every destroy because of the sort of generating, and it also thins your deck so you can get to your death and your Morgan Le Fay more often. The Hydra Bob comes back as a 1/7. That's incredibly good. That gives you the most value. Really, Uncle Ben is one I'd want to save, whereas Marrow you kind of just want to get her out so you can destroy her easily. Uncle Ben you can save because he only costs 1, and he's a very powerful disruption tool and is one of your only ones in this deck. If you have not drawn Morgan, you, again, need to get that Nico Draw 2 and the Wade Wilson thinning so you can hopefully draw Morgan by 5. If you don't draw Morgan, you're just trying to get your death as cheap as possible and trying to cheat out a win with Uncle Ben. You are going to win maybe like 10% of the games you don't have Morgan. That is not good. However, if you can cheat out even 10% of those games, they're probably going to be for big cubes. Just all that stuff. I had a game where I didn't get Morgan, and I ended up winning 8 because my opponent underestimated what my total output was going to be points-wise. Just that kind of stuff. You can sneak out some small wins here and there, but an important thing about Morgan is knowing when to retreat for 1 and knowing when to snap when you're doing well. Morgan can put up a absolute ton of points and be very hard to interact with. However, it is a bit fragile and is reliant on draws. But in reality, if you don't get Morgan, you need your death to pretty much cost 3 or less. Otherwise, you have absolutely no chance of winning. That's going to be it for the guide on Fastball Special and Marrow. These are 2 very new cards. Overall, I think you should get both of these cards. I think Marrow is very good, and it's a very key disruption piece for Morgan Le Fay decks, and I think Fastball Special is going to bring Nimrod back to one of the best decks in the game. It is scary how good that Nimrod deck is. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed. I've been Smlz from Snap Academy. Leave a like if this helped you. Leave a comment if you want to see me cover any other decks, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.